Good morning, Arizona. Welcome to the show. It's called the Business to Business Network Show. My name is Rex Perry, and if you're just waking up on a Saturday morning, going out to go jogging before it gets too hot, play some golf, get some exercise, and you happen to turn on your radio, we're talking real estate every Saturday morning. Our co-host is
Mike Metz with Guaranteed Rate.
And our first guest for the show, we're talking to a lot of real estate agents. John, give us your last name and introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm John Cordes. I'm with Russ, Lyon, Sotheby's International Realty, where I've been working the Valley for 20 years.
20 years working in kind of the Scottsdale area mostly.
Mostly Scottsdale, North Phoenix. I'll go anywhere and do anything.
Whatever it takes.
When necessary.
Now, we were having a conversation in preparation for the show, and you were telling us some interesting, because you work a lot in relocation.
Yes.
People coming from out of state to in-state, and different states do different things, especially when it comes to financing. Tell us a little bit of your experiences out there.
Well, when you're coming from out of state and you're pre-qualified, just remember the mortgage qualification rules have changed quite dramatically in the last few years. And if you're having a jumbo mortgage, you might require 2 appraisals. And if you have a lot of assets, you may see some paperwork requirements that you never believed that you would be asked for. However, you certainly can get good mortgage rates right now. I highly recommend people not to be renting, to be buying. Speak to a mortgage professional, and you can buy a home with 3.5% down, 5% down conventional. And I think when you look at the accounting of your tax write-off, you're probably going to be spending less to own than to rent.
Yeah. And you were telling us also that some of these buyers coming from out-of-state to in-state have an out-of-state lender that has pre-qualified them. But in reality, Mike, you've had the experience where it's just kind of different, especially sometimes in the Midwest.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and usually local realtors like to use local lenders. There's a little bit more of accountability. You can go in and see them, bricks and mortar. There's still plenty of good online, out-of-state lenders that are out there, but you have to be a little more selective and make sure they understand the local market, especially when it comes to appraisals, such like that. So many times, as many realtors do, they'll give you 2 or 3 names of local lenders to go to if you're coming in from out of state.
Now, also, Mike, when you work with a buyer, you do a full explain, educate the audience.
And so, in this going on with John was saying, and the Arizona Association of Realtors has a pre-qualification form. On that form, there are check boxes. Have I reviewed tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, and such with it? As a seller, you want to see those boxes checked. That means the lender has actually underwritten and reviewed those items versus just pulling a credit report and putting down whatever the borrower said he made for income and assets.
And you've seen that as you've been working out there. Tell us a little bit of something.
Well, what you have to be careful of, you're just entering the market as a buyer, and you get a pre-qualification letter, and it's a fairly generic one, and then all of a sudden you walk into the house, well, this is it. Let's make an offer. Well, more than likely, in today's market, with the inventory shrinking for great quality product, you might run into competition.
Multiple offers.
Mm-hmm. And therefore, if I'm a seller and I'm looking at 2 people putting 5 or 20% down, and one person has a fully qualified pre-qualification letter, and we want to get the deal done quickly, we want to know who our buyer is, I'm more than likely going to lean in that direction of that buyer.
Yeah. And you've had this where the listing agent has actually called you. Tell them about that.
Many times you'll have the listing agent calling, and I really applaud the listing agents that do, because what they're doing is watching out for their sellers, making sure that this person is really who they're saying they are. And that, again, when you have a local lender, that helps a lot. In many cases with our buyers that are pre-approved, once they make an offer, I will call the listing agent.
He's proactive.
And say, hey, this guy's good as gold. We know we can close on time. Here's what's going on.
This is really the kind of loan officer you want to be working with, because first of all, John, you don't want to put somebody in your car that you don't know and you haven't had pre-qualified.
That is correct, and especially if I'm the listing agent, I have the house listed, and I get an offer on a house for my clients. I have fiduciary to my clients, and the first thing I'm going to do is call up the buyer's lender and ask them how strong are their clients.
Mm-hmm. And you take the proactive approach so that you kind of help the buyer. You help sell the buyer.
Well, that's it. And as John was alluding to, many of the times you're in with competing offers right now. I would say the majority of the time, from what I'm seeing lately, very tight market, appears to be getting tighter with it. So it's just something to help differentiate my borrower, my client, my client from the other people there. And it's just saying, hey, and that's what they want to hear. Can we close on time? Have you reviewed the tax returns? Give me the word that this is going to happen. That's all we need.
And Mike is so smooth because he makes these calls after 6 or 7. So this is kind of when they're just kind of, the agents are kind of winding
attention.
down,
Yeah.
and the phones aren't ringing off the hook for them, and you basically call them up and say, hey, look, a buyer that I pre-qualified has made an offer. Just want to let you know. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, just let you know I've reviewed their tax returns, their pay stub. Here's their debt-to-income ratio. FICO's in the high 700s. Good assets, good retirement. Shouldn't have any trouble at all closing on this date or before.
And so, as an agent, John, you get a call. You would take that call. As a listing agent.
Well, how special is that?
That's the kind of loan officer that you need. Anything else you would like to share with the audience? Anything else we failed to ask?
Well, if you are coming in from out of state, obviously you're typically looking at school districts, driving time to work, things of that nature. Having been in the Valley for 20 years, having had at one point 4 broker's licenses in 4 different states prior to me coming here. That's a whole nother story. However, you want to know certain things, where the sun is shining. Are you going to buy a 2-story? Who's going to buy it when you're ready to sell it? There's a lot of ins and outs of the marketplace that some people from out of state just aren't privy to, with the climate and obviously the areas here we have in Arizona.
Exactly. That's why you want to work with John Cordes. Phone number, how can people reach you?
Once again, I typically try to answer my phone, Rex. My number is 480-205-0044.
And the website?
My website is www.johncordes.com. And that's C-O-R-D as in David, E-S as in Sam.
Phone number one more time?
480-205-0044.
And Mike?
480-585-1616, 480-585-1616, or on the web, MikeLoans.com.
We got to do a break. We're going to be right back. 123bz.com. Stay tuned. Coming back.